Hi golfers, Nick here from GOLFTEC Singapore. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on golf tips. This week on Golf Tips, we're going to talk about the exit position in the follow through. You may have seen some videos I've done recently talking about different positions in the swing. This one's position 8, which is when the right arm is parallel to the ground in the finish. Behind me here, I've got 4 different pictures, each with different colours. So here at GOLFTEC, we use these sensors to measure the golf swing and put them into different colour categories. So we have red, which is this one on the left, and that basically would create the most out to in swing path. Then as we move along, we have yellow, which would give us slightly out to in. Then we have green, which is basically where the tour average would be. This is giving us a slightly into out swing path. And at the end here, we have blue, which would give us the most from out to in. So we use these colours to sort of determine what the swing path is going to be. So I'm going to give this a test. I'm going to try and hit 4 shots. We're going to look at the club data. We're going to look at the pictures. We're going to look at the motion numbers and see what the difference is between these 4 golf shots. I'm going to start off with blue. So I'm expecting the most into out swing path. We're also going to take a look at the angle of attack as well. Be interested. So for this first swing, I'm going to try and have the high exit as I go through. We're going to look at the motion numbers when we sit down afterwards. So first up will be blue. So for blue, I'm expecting the swing paths go most out to the right, so I'm trying to finish quite high. I'm going to try and sort of lean back and tilt to the right as I go through to get into that position. So you can see the ball flight on the screen there. So it was a little bit of an overdraw, pitched around 150, total 161. You'll see the top view here, so you can see the ball sort of started out to the right, overdrew the line. So we're going to take a look at club face afterwards as we go through. Just taking a look at the data there. So the swing path was 12.5 degrees from in to out, and I actually hit up 4 degrees on that ball. So it'd be interesting to see when we take a look at the data afterwards. Let's move on now and test out green. So now we're going to test out green. So I'm expecting this to be a little bit less from in to out, maybe slightly downwards with the angle of attack. We saw the last one 12.5 degrees into out and 4 degrees upwards. So this is more like my normal swing. So pretty straight shot there, probably slight draw, just overdrew slightly, pitched around 165, just rolled out to 172. So take a look at the data, you see the top view there. So pretty straight, just left of the line. And the club path was around 3 degrees into out, and the angle attack was around 6 degrees downward. So that's with my normal golf swing, which is going to be green. We'll sit down after, we'll take a look at that data compared to blue. But let's move on now and test out yellow. Moving on to yellow now, I'm expecting the swing path to move slightly from out to in. The exit position is going to be a bit more rounded, and I'm going to stay more bent over as I swing through. So potentially more downwards with the angle attack as well. A little bit thin. You can see the ball flight there. Just started down the left, just sort of faded back a little bit. So when you start to hit these yellow and red swings, you're going to start to see more fade on the ball or pull shots to the left. So that pitched around 136, total 149. Taking a look at the club data, yeah, so 2 degrees roughly from out to in, 1.8, and then 8 degrees downwards with the angle attack. So more downwards with the angle attack as we progressively move through these colours. And we're starting to move slightly from out to in. You saw that ball flight there, just curve from left to right. So let's move on now and test out red. So finally moving on to red, I'm expecting probably the most out to in here. So let's give this one a go. Okay, so you can see the ball flight there, curving across the line, probably the shortest in distance as well. So 131 total distance. You can see the ball flight from the top view, just started just left of the line and just over curve to the right. So looking at the club data, 4.6 degrees from out to in, so slightly more from out to in, angle attack around 5 degrees downwards. You see me hit the 4 shots there on the quad. I did that in one take, so I tried to do that as best as possible. So the contact wasn't perfect each time. I didn't hit the ball exactly out the middle with each club, but you saw sort of difference in sort of the ball flight. And now just taking a quick look at the data, the club path for the blue one was the most from in to out, 12.5 degrees. For green, it was 3.2 degrees from in to out. For yellow, it was 1.8 degrees out to in. And for red, it was 4.6 degrees from out to in. So definitely a strong correlation there in between the colour codes and the swing path, which I expected. Also, the club face to path was quite interesting as well. So for the blue, it was the most closed to the path. Green, it was only slightly closed to the path. Yellow, it was slightly open, or basically 0. And in red, it was the most open. So definitely a correlation there between the club path and the face to path. let's take a look at the swings in a bit more detail. So I've pulled up the swings here on the screen. So on the left we've got blue, and then on the right we've got green. So just take it to the exit position first of all. So on the left here we've got blue. You can see where the shaft's coming out basically on my left ear, and then on the green it's coming out just below my left shoulder there. Also, just notice the club face. So we saw with the data that the blue one had the most closed, and then for green it was only just slightly closed to the swing path. So let's take a look at some of the numbers here. So I've just pulled some numbers onto the screen here. So you can see how my shoulders are more turned for green, and that would help bring that swing path round more to the left. You can see how my hips are turned a little bit more as well. Now these other numbers here, we've got shoulder tilt and shoulder bend. So shoulder tilt is basically the angle of my shoulders there, so I'm going to do those in the colours. So slightly more tilted to the right for blue. The other one is the bend number, and that's basically this sense of how much I've bent back. Okay, so we know for blue that I bent back the most, which potentially moved that low point back I hit up on the golf ball, and it also moves the swing direction more out to the right. So the more you tilt to the right, the more you bend back, the more that the higher exit position comes. So you can see there for blue how where the shaft sort of comes out compared to where the green is. So be interested to look at these numbers in comparison when we take a look at red and yellow. Okay, so let's take a look at red and yellow. So I've got yellow on the left, which you can see where the shaft exits sort of mid-chest. So for yellow, we saw the swing path was just a couple of degrees from out to in, and then for red, you can see it exiting more on the belt, and that swing path was around 5 degrees from out to in. So let's move on now and take a look at some of those motion numbers and see what the difference is at this position. So I pulled the numbers up onto the screen there. So first of all, the rotation of the shoulders is more with red. The hip turn is virtually the same in both of them. Where we see the biggest difference is actually in the bend. So you can see on the right hand picture for red, I'm sort of really bending forward as I went through, and that sort of, you see that in a lot of sort of high handicapper golfers. It brings down the speed of the swing. It generally moves the angle attack more downwards, and as you can see, it moves the swing path more around to the left. So you can see how the more you turn and the more you stay bent over, the more the swing will move around to the left. So there has to be a combination of the right amount of rotation, the right amount of back bend as you go through. So you can see in both these pictures how my shoulder bend is actually forward at this point, and when you look at the best golfers, they're going to be around 10 to 20 degrees backwards with the bend. And obviously you're looking for that shaft to exit roughly just below the left shoulder. So I thought it was quite a good comparison there using the numbers. I know most of you golfers out there aren't going to have access to these numbers, but it does really help if you can get to a GOLFTEC and sort of get your swing measured properly. It does make a big difference. Just moving the body differently can have a dramatic effect on the club path. So there's a right combination of shoulder tilt, rotation, and also backward bend as you swing through to make sure you get the right swing path. So in the meantime, golfers, if you're practicing, check your swing path in the exit. So if you get the camera from down the line, you want that shaft sort of coming out just below the left shoulder. If it comes out more mid-chest or too low or too high, you know you're probably going to be slightly out in terms of the swing path. So golfers, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't already, please follow me on my other social media platforms, and we see you again next week for another video on golf tips.